Does anyone actually remember the Minions movie? After the worldwide success of the first two Despicable Me movies, Illumination took notice and decided it was time to go all in on these wacky little yellow dudes. Most people either really love them or completely despise them, so what's the deal with the Minions? Is the movie really as bad as people say it is? While Despicable Me and Illumination as a whole started off with a very positive reputation, nowadays I see a lot of Minion slander on the timeline. And I understand, not all of the hate has to do with the movies specifically. The Minions are basically everywhere at this point, and people are just really annoyed of the sounds they make, probably. But to comprehend everything we know about these banana-loving squishmallows now, we first have to understand everything surrounding their origin story. And believe me, it's not the greatest. Don't get me wrong, if you're extremely bored and just want to see something goofy, or you're under the age of 12, you'll probably like this thing. But if you're going into this movie hoping to get a cohesive story with any emotional depth whatsoever, then you might be severely disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. Because as I usually do on this channel, I'll be watching and recapping the first Minions movie in full, while completely overanalyzing the little things that don't really add up and giving my own insight along the way. There's a lot in this movie that barely makes any sense at all, but I'll do my best to make sense of everything, even if none of it is ever actually explained in the movie. So grab your copy of Modern Warfare 2 for the Nintendo DS. Yes, this is a real game, and yes, I played it as a kid. And let's jump into what some people call the beginning of the end, the very first Minion movie, Minions. But wait, what's this? The Minions are getting a call from today's sponsor. Ever feel like there just aren't enough hours in a day? With everything on your plate, finding time to plan and prepare meals can be really tough. But what if there was a way to take off that stress and still enjoy delicious, nutritious meals? Introducing our sponsor for today's video, Factor. Factor takes the hassle out of cooking by delivering chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals right to your door. Fresh, never frozen, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. With over 35 meal options each week, including keto, calorie-smart, vegan, veggie, and more, you'll find something to satisfy every taste and dietary need. Factor even offers gourmet plus meals featuring premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and truffle butter. They also have a range of add-ons like breakfast items, snacks, and smoothies to keep you fueled and feeling great all day long. Sometimes I'm editing all night, which means I wake up a little later than I'm supposed to, and I just don't have time to cook a delicious meal. But Factor is so flexible that I can easily stay on track because it literally only takes 2 minutes to prepare. Truth is, Factor is my go-to lunch solution when I have a strict deadline and I just need something reliable. And not just that, but with Factor's commitment to sustainability, offsetting 100% of delivery emissions, and using renewable energy, you can feel good about your meal choices. Ready to simplify your meals and save time? Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code DARZII50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code DARZII50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your next box plus 20% off your next month of orders. This movie begins with the Illumination classic. 8 minutes straight of a random voiceover periodically dumping exposition. Seriously, I did the math, and this opening segment that's narrated the entire time equates to over 10% of this movie's total runtime. We're off to a thrilling start. In this opening, we learn about the very beginning of the Minions. I guess they started off as these tiny yellow underwater things. Eventually, they evolved and got bigger, which allowed them to live on land.
Oh, that one is Norbert. He's an idiot.
One of the first lines in this entire movie is calling the Minions stupid. How poetic is that? The Minions don't age, and they're basically invincible to any sort of physical harm, so they're all at least 66 million years old and will basically live forever. These facts cause a lot of inconsistencies in the narrative of this story, and I'll be bringing them up multiple times. It's explained that the Minions only have one goal as a species, and that's to serve the most despicable master they could find. So like they find this T-Rex and he's evil, I guess, so now they follow him around. They basically just follow the most evil person in the world at that moment. Eventually the dinosaurs die out, so the Minions start serving cavemen and eventually historical figures who were known to be not the greatest people. We're talking Egyptian pharaohs that utilized slavery, famous vampires that lured and killed hundreds of innocent people, and even Napoleon Bonaparte, who we all know is French. In the story, the Minions find a cave and stay in it for over 150 years, until one day they randomly get bored and want to find another evil person to serve forever. I read online that the reason the Minions were written to be in a cave for so long is because the writers wanted to avoid the Minions working for a certain Austrian painter during a war, maybe, which is totally valid, I get it. But did the writers forget about all the other evil people throughout all the other periods of history? Like, there's a lot of them, and they did some really, really bad things. Anyway, so like I said, the Minions got bored one day, so 3 of them set out to go find the world's most evil person. These 3 Minions being Keven, Stuart, and Bob, the boys.
Ah, okay. Tomato la pita della poca.
I have no idea what he's saying. I feel like I'm going insane already watching this. So with that, we get a quick montage showcasing the journey of these three minions. It's a visually beautiful sequence, so a reminder that you can say what you want, but Illumination's animation has always been top tier, okay? It's always been. Eventually, our boys end up in New York City because, of course they do. It's always like New York or California in these movies. There's literally no one landing in Delaware or something. Eventually, the minions steal some clothes, which end up being their super iconic denim overalls. When they find them, they're already in the perfect size, which is weird. No child is shaped like this, but whatever. We then get another montage showcasing the minions living the American dream. Because we're in the 60s now, we see the minions join a hippie protest. We see them fall in love with music for the very first time. And perhaps the most American part of all, we see one of them get stuffed in a trunk and kidnapped. This is a certified land of the free moments. Eventually, our three minions reconnect and end up going to some fancy mall where we're all reminded that the minions are very, very stupid. Oh god, Bob, wake up! You've been in a coma for 13 years, your family misses you so much. So despite them all being closed now, I guess security guards just aren't a thing for some reason. So our three minions set up a TV next to a bed so they can spend the night relaxing. They change the channel a couple times because they just can't decide on what to watch. But eventually, they somehow end up watching the Secret Villain Network channel. If these three can find this channel on accident, I'm pretty sure the authorities can find it on purpose, but I digress. On this channel, there's talks about VillainCon, which is basically just Comic-Con, but everyone attending has committed multiple felonies. So yeah, it's exactly like Comic-Con, actually. The main attraction of this event is someone named Scarlet Overkill. She's the super evil villain who's looking for some new henchmen.
There's a new bad man in town, and that man is a woman.
Obviously, the minions get excited by this, so they decide VillainCon in Florida is their next stop. They leave the store, and apparently it's still daytime outside, so like, why was it just really dark inside? Are there no windows in this building? And like, why did the store even close in the first place? There was a lot of people shopping here earlier, and it turns out it's midday, so that's kind of weird. But then, turns out the minions have a serious problem because they actually have no idea how to get to Florida. There's a scene where they talk to fire hydrants and babies because that's a silly thing to do, and these guys are like super silly. Oh, look at me, I dance, but don't f with them because they'll start a civil war. Eventually, the minions decide to hitchhike on the highway because this is the 60s and Netflix hadn't made all the serial killer documentaries yet. This is when we get a shot that I just think is kind of funny for some reason. It's one of the minions holding a sign that says Orlando. I don't know why, I just think out of context, the screenshot is hilarious. Like it looks AI generated or something. I don't know, man. My brain is cooked. I won't lie to you. Eventually, a family does pick them up, and turns out they're also headed to Florida because they're also all villains. They even decide to rob a bank real quick on the way. It's a fun time.
Okay, Nelsons, let's do this.
Potakino?
He's like, what the f is going on? Also, I forgot to mention, but we've been checking in on all the other minions throughout the movie. They've basically just been really bored, and that's honestly kind of it. This is a cool reference to my girlfriend, who can't watch any movie over 2 hours long without unironically playing Subway Surfers on her phone. But eventually, our boys do arrive at the convention in Florida. The entrance to this thing is a little shack, but then you actually go underground, and it's super nice and stuff. It's like that one Zombies map with the train that moves around where like the power is in a shack or whatever. I hated that map. But yeah, they're at VillainCon now, is what I'm saying. The minions walk around for a bit. We see a young Dr. Nefario in the background, which is kind of cool. We also see some random villain kill one of his clones. That's probably very unethical or something. But luckily they got there just in time because it's now time for Scarlet Overkill. She's making a grand entrance and she's got a whole arena filled up for this, so she's probably pretty popular. I was actually pretty curious about her, so I ended up Googling her previous crimes, and turns out she's done grand larceny, death threats, terrorism, high treason, attempted genocide, attempted mass murder, treason, kidnapping, destruction of property, assault and battery, and unlawful imprisonment, to name a few. The minions are basically in love with her because she's super evil, which is when Scarlet makes a speech about how she's a woman and proved all the men wrong. I guess she's the first proper woman villain or something. I know some people would get triggered by this scene, but she actually does seem pretty threatening and very smart, so I don't know. It's cool. I dig it. Scarlet pulls out this big diamond and basically tells everyone in the arena that the person who's able to steal it from her will become her henchman. This is obviously a horrible idea because every villain just starts storming the stage immediately. Imagine if Taylor Swift mid-concert was like, hey guys, I'm giving out free hugs right now, come get them. You know, a bunch of funky looking dudes tackle Scarlet down, but I guess she has her ultimate ready, so she just pushes everyone away by pressing Q on her keyboard. This is when we find out that the minions actually got a hold of the diamond, albeit it looks like it was on accident. One of them just swallows the diamond during the chaos, and I guess now they have the diamond or something. These guys are millions of years old and still dumb as a bag of rocks. It's actually insane. So the minions are officially declared Scarlet's new henchmen, and then everyone starts cheering because everyone here is an evil person, but they also love to see others succeed, I guess. The next shot is everyone arriving at Scarlet's house. Turns out she lives in England, which you can easily identify not by the famous clock tower, but by the extremely dirty water and horrible weather. It's actually really nice out in this shot, but I've heard it rains all the time over there, so I don't know, yeah. Once at the house, Scarlet is really nice to the minions. She's clearly kind of a softie, at least so far. This is when we're introduced to Herb, who's her husband, I think. I don't really know, but they seem kind of in love. Now's probably a good time to mention that Scarlet and Herb are voice acted by mega famous actors Sandra Bullock and Jon Hamm, respectively. I'm sure the people who casted this movie thought that would be a memorable factoid about it, but I'll be honest, all anyone remembers about this movie is the minions. Who would have thought? Herb is that annoying stoner type. He's just a bro with everyone he comes across. Honestly, he's kind of a cool character, but generally speaking, having a comic relief character in a movie centered around much more notable comic relief characters isn't the best idea. This is when Scarlet tells the three minions her big plan. Essentially, she wants to steal the crown off the Queen of England. She actually specifically name drops Queen Elizabeth, which I thought was kind of weird. I guess the royal family is canon in this universe, although I'd have to assume Prince Andrew is excluded from this, since if he wasn't, the minions would probably end up serving him in one of the movies. Herb then gives our three boys some cool gadgets to help them on their journey. One of them gets a cool mechanical arm that can stretch real far. Another gets a lava lamp gun that like burns stuff, I guess. And the last one gets something called a hypno hat, which just straight up hypnotizes anyone it's aimed at. I'm not sure why Herb and Scarlet didn't just use this on the Queen to get her crowned a lot earlier, but again, this movie probably didn't think that far ahead.
No, don't say anything.
Oh, he's obviously scared, lady. Give Mom a hug or something. Come on. The next scene is a little drawn out, so I'll speedrun through it. Scarlet puts the minions to sleep with a bedtime story, but the story is just about how she really wants the Queen's crown, and if the minions fail to get it for her, she's gonna kill them, I guess. This is a very early sign that something just isn't right with Scarlet. Also, again, you'd think that Scarlet and Herb would just go get the crown themselves. She's clearly done a lot of evil things before and has access to all these gadgets. Why is she relying on these three weird yellow dudes like a day after they met? This movie is so scared to not include the minions for one scene. It's wild. The next day now, and we get right into it. Keven, Stuart, and Bob infiltrate the Queen's castle. They do it by stacking themselves on top of each other, which is like that one scene from BoJack Horseman. That show is goated. Go watch it if you want to cry. They get caught as soon as they go in their first restricted area, however, but thankfully one of the minions uses the hypno hat and everyone starts dancing like it's a Fortnite lobby or something. Again, I know I'm repeating myself at this point, but why didn't Scarlet and Herb just do this themselves? Like, they literally made the tech. I'm sure they could have pulled it off. Using the lava lamp gun, they get into the crown room, which just has the crown front and center. Interesting how the Queen isn't wearing her crown. Maybe she's just too busy dancing herself. There's this weird bit where some old blind guy is guarding the crown or something, but it ends pretty quick and everything explodes. Eventually, the minions are outside again and end up fighting the Queen in a 3v1 for the crown while some copyrighted 60s music starts playing. This is obviously an unfair fight for the Queen, but since the minions actually have a negative IQ, she low-key ends up winning the fight. Bob is running away from the guards, which is when he sees the infamous sword in the stone. I bet you can see exactly where this is going. In an effort to defend himself, Bob pulls out the sword from this giant rock on the very first try. Does this mean he's the chosen one, or is it because he has robotic arms? I honestly have no idea. So because he pulled the sword out of the stone, all the guards stop attacking the minions, and get this, the Queen straight up forfeits her crown. There's no paperwork, there's no background check. This dude who isn't even human is now the King of England. I made a joke in one of my Despicable Me movies that the minions could probably overthrow the government if they wanted to, because there's just so many of them, but it literally only took one minion here. So these things are either super OP or just have the best RNG I've ever seen. Scarlet sees the news of the minions being crowned king and gets really mad because she thinks she's being betrayed, I guess. Meanwhile, Bob is giving a speech in complete gibberish. I know this is Minionese, which is a mix of a bunch of different languages together, so theoretically, if you knew every language, you could like understand it or something. But let's be honest, no one here knows more than 2 languages max, so he might as well be speaking in that Wingdings font. We get like the 4th or 5th montage of this movie now. I honestly lost count. The minions are having fun around the castle. This is when Scarlet shows up out of nowhere, proving my point once again that she could easily sneak into the castle if she really wanted to. She's super mad because, like I said earlier, she thinks the minions went into business for themselves, but the minions are quick to let her know that actually they genuinely stole the crown for her. This isn't even one of those situations where they're just really scared so they lie. The minions 100% intended to give Scarlet the crown whenever she arrived, so it's like a big misunderstanding. The minions quickly rewrite all the laws because I guess royalty can just do that whenever they want, and now Scarlet is officially the new Queen of England. I was under the impression that she just wanted the crown because it's very shiny and expensive, but I guess what she really wanted was to be in charge of an entire country. She's not even wearing the crown! Isn't that like the whole point? Where is it even? Did the animators forget to put it in or something? The next scene is kind of weird and kind of comes out of nowhere. Scarlet leads our three minions into the basement and ultimately locks them up in a room. She explains that she just can't forgive them for what they've done to her. Not really sure what she's even referring to here, since the minions literally gave her everything she wanted as soon as she asked for it. And listen, so far this movie has been pretty goofy and lighthearted, but here's when the movie takes a dark turn. This is when our story gets very dark. Turns out the room the minions are stuck in is actually a torture chamber. There are multiple ancient torture devices in here that are meant to make death as painful as possible. Not only that, but there's also a guy in here with them who's gonna do the torturing. This is obviously just Herb in a costume, so just like that, all the dramatic tension is cut entirely. He tries to split the minions in half by breaking their spine. I'm not kidding. But as we established at the very beginning, the minions are basically invincible, so this fails. This part's kind of crazy. He uses a noose to try and hang them to death, but again, this has no effect whatsoever. And at this point, you can probably realize the implications this brings to the rest of the franchise. Like, these dudes not only survived wars, plagues, and planet-destroying catastrophes, but they also don't even get hurt when someone directly tries to torture them. There's so many scenes throughout this franchise where the minions are in trouble or around some sort of danger, and turns out none of that matters at all. All of it was one giant chaotic mess and a huge lie. The minions cannot die. Do not feel scared for any of them. They will outlive literally everyone. Anyway, Herb eventually gives up and leaves, which is when the minions find a sewer grate, which isn't even screwed in or anything, so they just lift it up and then escape. They try to find their way out of the castle, which is when they accidentally end up at a random guy's funeral. Not sure why this joke is even in this movie. It feels very out of place. Oh my god, that guy is dead. They're having a funeral and the guy's just dead? What a weird joke. Eventually, it's time for Scarlet's coronation, and as the minions are being very sneaky, they actually get caught and stop the ceremony in its tracks. Scarlet turns on no-clip and orders all the other villains in the room, and I'm not kidding here, to get the minions and execute them. Reminder that this is a kid's movie about silly yellow beans. When the minions run away, it's nighttime now, even though it was like daytime literally 2 minutes ago. We get a bunch of stereotypical evil people chasing them down for a while in what's probably the most chaotic way possible. Two of the minions end up getting caught, and one of them even drowns. It's pretty dark. Honestly, this movie is all over the place, and there's like a million things happening at every single moment. I'm missing a lot of it now, but if I take the time to explain it all, this will probably be the longest video you ever watch. So, you know. I do want to point notice, though, to one scene that looks like it just doesn't belong in this movie to me. Like, visually, it looks like one of those fake backroom videos or something. It's weird. I don't know. The animation feels more real or fake, or I don't know, one of them. The camera has obvious artificial shake. It like follows him. It's really weird. I don't know. Also, by the end of this chase sequence, it's daytime again for some reason. So in the last 5 minutes of this movie's runtime, one continuous scene in the town went on for about 12 hours in the movie's time. Obviously, this isn't super important, but it definitely took me out of it. Like, why even switch to nighttime at all in the first place? That makes no sense. But okay. Eventually, the villains catch up to the last remaining minion, but thankfully, he somehow ends up in Herb's secret gadget lair thing. And after doing everything the machine specifically tells him not to do, Keven somehow becomes extremely huge, so all the villains run away. The other two minions are about to die, except not really because they're invincible, so none of this matters. But still, Keven and his giant body show up to save the day. Why does no one care? Is the UK really that wild? Least disruptive day in Great Britain. Also, while the giant minion is walking around now, I guess all the other minions from the cave are here too. I didn't really talk about this because it plays no part in the main story, despite having multiple drawn out scenes. But yeah, all the other minions made it to England now, I guess. All the minions meet up and it's a big reunion. Keven covers another minion in spit, which is super disturbing, I won't lie. Scarlet is about to use her weapons to kill everyone. Again, not really, because they can't die. I cannot stress this enough. There is no danger here. Eventually, there's this rocket that Scarlet, Herb, and Keven are all attached to. It blows up and they all explode and die, except for Keven, because, god damn it, you know why. You know why he doesn't die. Keven is fine, all the minions are fine. The queen is the queen again, which I'm not sure is the best ending, but it is what it is. But then, in a last second twist, Scarlet and Herb appear again and try to steal the crown one last time. Unfortunately for them, however, they're frozen in their tracks by a very young, very despicable child named Gru. Gru takes the crown and all the minions instinctively follow him, wanting to serve him for the rest of time. This not only shows the beginning of the minions and Gru's relationship, but also proves that Gru is like 50 years old in the Despicable Me movies, which is just insane, to be honest. And that was the entire Minions movie. Was it really that bad? Although I'd say it was actually pretty entertaining, it was also actually pretty bad. It's not offensive, insensitive, or embarrassingly stupid or anything. It's just kind of all over the place and pretty inconsistent with itself. It's almost like it doesn't follow its own rules sometimes. And half of the stuff happens because it's just very convenient for it to happen, for the plot, I guess. I wasn't expecting this thing to transcend generations as the best movie of all time or anything, but after watching the first 3 Despicable Me movies, I was hoping for something a little more well written. But listen, I get it. It's about the minions. Kids love minions, so we gotta make it wacky and fun for everyone. But at the end of the day, this is just some random movie, and I'm just some random guy overanalyzing it for fun. It's really not that deep. Here's hoping the second Minions movie gives us some deeper lore and isn't just a $1 billion cash grab. That would be very unfortunate. But yeah, that's the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and comment. That helps the video out a ton, and I'm always doing my best to give you guys exactly what you want to see. If you'd like to become a member, it starts at only $1 and gets your name on the screen here at the end of all my future videos. I haven't done any exclusive members content yet, but I plan on making longer, less edited reviews of some movies eventually, if that interests you. Thank you to all my current members. You guys are the reason I do what I do. I'm so incredibly thankful for the support you've all given me. Paula Abdul scores this one a solid 3 minions out of 5. And yeah, thanks for watching.
In town.
Excuse me.
And that man
De la banana!